I'm Linda Ballantyne, Executive Director with the Rolling Meadows Chamber. I'd like to welcome everyone here today on behalf of our Board of Directors. And I'd like to start with my Board of Directors, so I'm going to ask that the Rolling Meadows Chamber Board of Directors that are here today, would you please stand to be recognized? I would also like to acknowledge a number of other special people that we have here today. And I would like to start with Mayor Tom Rooney. Would you please stand? Of course, he will be our speaker a little bit later on. Alderman Mike Cannon, would you please stand? Also from the City of Rolling Meadows, we have Barry Crumstock, our city manager. I have the assistant to the city manager, Lori Cizak. Melissa Gallagher is with the finance department. Is Valerie Dunner here with community development? Oh, there, Valerie, I didn't see you. I'm sorry. Community director, community development director. And I believe also you brought Elizabeth Payne no, she didn't come. Okay, so she's not here. Then we have Fred Vogt, Director of Public Works. And we have our fire chief, Scott Fransgrove, is here. And I think did I cover everybody from the city? Did I miss anyone? I hope not. Okay, so far so good. All right, I'm on a roll. Next, I'd like to introduce Dan McManus. He is here on behalf of Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth's office. She was not able to make it, but Dan is here. Thank you for coming, Dan. And then also, I would like to introduce our state representative. I just saw her, Melissa Mussman. Please stand up. I know I had you down. Thank you for attending and coming. We really appreciate this. We have over 95 business and community leaders here today. I would also like to take the time to thank our 3 sponsors that are helping to sponsor today's event. As you can see, we do have a sponsor board here, and I would also like to mention their names individually, and I would like to ask them to please stand as well. Divine Design, would all of your people please stand to be acknowledged? We do not have Good Energy here, but they are one of our sponsors as well. We do have information on Good Energy over at the table in the corner, so please help yourself. They work with the City of Rolling Meadows, and they will help you lower your energy bill. And work with you. So if that's something that's of interest to you, please make sure you take a brochure so that you can contact them directly. And then Northwest Community Hospital, please stand to be acknowledged as well as one of our major sponsors. I would also like to thank the representatives, and I have several here, of the owners, and Teresa for Director of Sales. Would you please stand? They did a fabulous job laying out this room and providing what they have for us today. Thank you so very much for hosting this event for us. We really appreciate it. And then also, I already saw that some people already started with dessert. Your dessert is in the middle. This was done by Cindy Adams with Nothing Bundt Cake. Cindy, would you please stand to be recognized? Cindy is one of our chamber members. She has Nothing Bundt Cakes that's located in Randhurst in the shopping center, but we will not hold that against you that you did not find a place in Rolling Meadows, although we're trying to get her. She is a resident of Rolling Meadows, and she has been wonderful about donating mini bundt cakes for so many of our different events and doing samplings and stuff, so we really appreciate it. If you'd like more information after you have had your dessert, Cindy has her cards in the back as well as brochures on nothing but cake so that you can take that with you and have it to work with. At this point, start with your salads. You have your salads out, and then we'll just keep moving along during the course of the afternoon with a few more updates, and then also then with our speaker. So thank you very much. Representative Michelle Mussman. I said the wrong last name, I am so sorry. I do want to correct that right now. So I am going to do a couple of add-ons because I do want to recognize a few other businesses. Please know that we have a top 12 employers list, and that is also at the table in the back for when you leave, that you can take that with you. But I do want you to know that we do have some of our top 12 largest businesses here today, and I would like to ask them to stand as I mention their name. And that would be Northrop Grumman. Would you please stand? They are our largest employer at this time, and that will be followed by Arthur J. Gallagher, which will be bringing in 2,000 employees. Would you please stand, Carrie, to be recognized? They will not be in full force until spring of 2017, but I believe I heard that if things go on schedule, you may have some people already coming in by late fall or winter of this year that you're going to start bringing some of your people in on Gulf Road, so we look forward to that. We also have a representative from AH Management Group. Would you please stand to be recognized? Very good. Thank you. I'm glad you could come. And also RTC. Did the president of RTC make it? Maybe he's running late as he did RSVP to attend. And there is one more grouping I was remiss that I did not introduce, and that is the Rolling Meadows Park District, which is literally taking almost a whole table onto themselves. So if I could ask Amy to stand and the commissioners or any of your staff that are here to please stand and be recognized from the Rolling Meadows Park District. And also, the Palatine Township. I'm going to ask that the representatives from the Palatine Township please also stand to be acknowledged. There, the two tables. Thank you very much. And now with that, we're very fortunate to have the top 12 employers. All but two are members of our chamber. We're working on the other two, trust me. But we do have several area employers, very large, that encompass the area rather than just Rolling Meadows. So I would like to acknowledge them as well. Clearbrook, I did see Carl Lamel, the executive director. Where is Carl? Thank you, Carl. So glad that you could be here. I also want to recognize the Daily Herald, which is part of Paddock Publications. There is a group of them. Would you please all stand to be acknowledged? Great. Thank you. And then also Northwest Community Healthcare, which is also one of our sponsors. If you could please stand again to be recognized. Thank you. And I think I'm now up to date with things. So Mayor Rooney is an economics high school teacher at Layton High School. So this is his full-time job. So when we can secure Mayor Rooney, we try to work around school days when they're off, Institute Day, school holidays, whatever. And then also for like ribbon cuttings, grand openings, all of those kinds of things. He tries to fit everything into his schedule, but we need to do it during hours once he's back and done teaching, unless it's in the summer when he's pretty much free and we have more open times for him. But I want you to know that not only Mayor Rooney works full-time, but all of our aldermen work full-time. With our community, they are not full-time council members or a mayor. This is all very part-time. So, and I so appreciate that Mayor Rooney makes himself available at least 99% of the time when we've asked him to be in attendance for something, to MC something. And that reminds me, Mayor Rooney, I would like you to MC again our Circle of Success Recognition Dinner in May, so I need to give you that date so that you're available. But it's just been so wonderful. It's been a wonderful working relationship between the city and not only the mayor and the alderman, but with all of the department heads as well. And so it really makes things so much easier and so nice for us when we can work hand in hand with them on different projects, whether they're community events, whether it's economic development, with businesses coming in, businesses looking to expand, whatever it is, that we kind of all work together for the same goal, which is to enrich our community and see it grow, especially within the business community. So I am forever grateful to Mayor Rooney for setting the example and being such an advocate for our Chamber of Commerce, as well as the aldermen and all of the staff from the city of Rolling Meadows. So without taking up any further more time, I would like to introduce Mayor Tom Rooney.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Well, the informal title of this Taking Care of Business Luncheon that we do every year is the State of the City Address that a bunch of mayors do around the northwest suburbs and all the rest. And so basically the idea here is to talk about some of the more important things that happened in 2015 and wrap up some stuff that maybe you didn't know about, maybe you didn't see, and then talk about what's coming forward in 2016. And so I kind of chose as our backdrop for this year the city's website. If you went on for business licenses or permits or anything else like that, you know, this was our website. And it was perfectly fine. And it was functional. And it got the job done. And faint praise, faint praise, faint praise, because everything on the web seems to be outdated as soon as it's about 3 months old. So one of the big things that we did in 2015 was bring the city a much more supercharged website. It's got a much friendlier way to go about it. The tabs are a lot easier to find, and people have said, wow, not only was it a facelift, but it really is a whole lot more usable for me as a resident of Rolling Meadows. So that was what I figured might be the backdrop for this particular year. So as we talk about 2015, one of the things that I've shown you every year since I've been mayor is the new business list, and not like by name, but just in terms of so that you can see the economic vitality of Rolling Meadows. Just in 2015, with 52 new businesses and 6 new home occupations, we added 58 places of business to the list of all the businesses here in Rolling Meadows. And any good salesman would never admit or never direct your attention to it being a fairly low number for us. Of the ones that I've done so far, we've had numbers in the 90s. We've had numbers in the 80s. One year was 102 or 103. And so, yeah, maybe a salesman wouldn't point that out, would just say, wow, 58, make you think it's a big number and move on. But number one, we tell the truth and we put all the statistics that we usually do. But I think that that number is hiding a much more important number. If you want to take a look at the development activity around Rolling Meadows, just a sum total dollar figure of everything that's being built and everything that's going on and everything that people are doing in Rolling Meadows just in terms of renovations or new stuff. This means businesses renovating their space. This means Verizon coming into Continental Towers and all the rest. That number is $96 million just in 2015. $96 million just in 2015. That's amazing to us. When that number was calculated by our community development department, that was holy smokes. Now, one of the things we'll talk about later is anybody driving down Gulf Road or driving down 53 every day gets to see the progress of our biggest project in town, Gallagher. And so you might say, oh, well, that 96 million, that's cheating because Gallagher's in there. And you're right, that's cheating because Gallagher's in there. The 2015 portion of Gallagher's project is around 48 million of those dollars. So it's about half, which is very substantial. But that's my point. If I cut this number in half, it's still bigger than we've been seeing ever since the 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009. Even without Gallagher put into that number, the number is still substantial. And there isn't a project in that list that's over one at about 4 million, one at about 2.5. So we're not stacking that $48 million number with any big tickets. That's how much development is going on around this town, or at least went on around this town in only 2015. So something else that happened in 2015 is kind of boring for a lot of people, but business people understand this kind of thing. The reserves of any city that lots of cities are talking about, how much money do you have set aside for emergencies and all that other kind of stuff. As a percentage of operating expenditures, this was the history that lots of cities experienced, not just us. You'll see it's not a coincidence that here's 2008. Like Linda said, I teach economics, so we go on and on about the last recession, killing everybody, not just Rolling Meadows, but all across. And here in Rolling Meadows, we have been able to build that back up to, in 2014, our number was almost 30%, and we know that we've closed out 2015 healthier than we even thought. But the reason why I point that out is not just to show how much we've restored things to health, because this is a percentage of operating expenditures. It's an inflation-adjusted amount, so to speak. But last year, we adopted a policy that said, going forward, this range right here from 15 to 30 will be the range that Rolling Meadows has set by ordinance. We will never drop below 15, and we will not go above 30. And we think that's important, too. Because quite frankly, there are places that are sitting on a lot more than this now. And we just don't happen to believe that's right as a council. We think at some point, money that you're sitting on is money that you took from people's pockets. And if you have reasons for it and necessary cushions, that's great. But to go much higher really shouldn't be done by a taxing body. So moving forward, Rolling Meadows will always be in this band thanks to something that we did last year. And then the final thing about last year that I want to talk about that I think is a big deal. If you're not familiar with the term transparency, the way it's used in government, what it means is having your information open to the public so that people can just go online and find it as much as possible. They don't have to go through the rigmarole of Freedom of Information Act requests and so forth and so on. And a group called the Illinois Policy Institute kind of grades municipalities and park districts and metropolitan water reclamation districts and all the other, are you ready for this? Over 7,000 units of local government in the state of Illinois. Over 7,000. If you put together the towns and the library districts and the school districts and all the things that I'm mentioning, in Illinois alone, we have way more than any other state. And so the Illinois Policy Institute developed what they called a Sunshine Award. And they have basically procedures that need to be followed and things that need to be on your website. And if you achieve a score of 80% transparent, that's still 20% opaque, sort of. But if you achieve an 80% score on their transparency scale, you get a Sunshine Award. And there are 77 local governments in the state of Illinois that have a Sunshine Award. Now remember, 7,000 was the number I gave you. And 77 of them all across the state have a Sunshine Award like Rolling Meadows has. Except I just misspoke on purpose. I said like Rolling Meadows has. This isn't the Sunshine Award like we have, because they have an area of special distinction. If you can achieve 100% transparency, you get a special award for that. In 2015, with our new website and other things that we did, the city of Rolling Meadows became the 9th city, excuse me, the 9th unit of local government in the entire state of Illinois to win this award. So we're doggone proud of it, because part of it was a choice that we as the council made that said, we want to get this done. There's no reason why people shouldn't be 100% transparent with their residents and their taxpayers. So, with that being kind of the recap of 2015, we always kind of do a special thank you to our sponsors, of course, as you can see the poster up here. And there's always a poster, so Divine Design and Good Energy and Northwest Community Healthcare, thank you very much for your particular sponsorship. And as Linda read already, our top 10 employers are the economic engine of the city of Rolling Meadows. We always want to make sure we recognize them. And, well, we kind of decided to say top 12 this year, as Linda already alluded to, because we know as soon as Gallagher is here and as soon as Verizon is here in full force over in Continental Towers, that they're going to instantly make the list as well. So with all those folks around, that's kind of the halftime in between 2015 and 2016, as well as a management trivia contest, maybe I'll call it. So let's put on the next screen. Can anybody tell me whose corporate logo is that? Anybody know the corporate logo? Because it's meant purposeful to be compass-like. Okay. How about this fellow? Anybody in the room know who that is? Anybody at all? Well, how many people in the room, as business people, have ever heard of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? Aha, there you go. Well, the logo was Franklin Covey, and that picture is Stephen Covey himself. And when I got approached about a program that's being put together by 2 of our principals of grade schools here in Rolling Meadows, at Central Road and at Kimball Hill, Melissa Sabatino and Tracy Roble are here today. They're putting together a program for their school that they learned about that is based on Stephen Covey's work. And so, you know, being mayor and having Harper College right nearby, the political science kids have to interview a local official. And so I get 1 or 2 of those every year of a kid who wants to interview a local official. I get kids at school who ask for the student newspaper. And so I'm kind of used to getting the question, what have been the biggest influences on your leadership style? Question mark. And so I have an answer that's ready to go. Because I tell people the 3 biggest influences on my leadership style are my faith, the United States Marine Corps, and Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey has been a very powerful force in my life in all of the leadership and political and teaching stuff ever since I learned about him as a student teacher at Evanston Township High School back in 1992. And as a matter of fact, I sent to Tracy a picture of the part of the bookshelf in the mayor's office that, as you can see by the laptop here, this is the one that I can reach my hand out to directly. I call it the leadership library as my little joke. And you can see the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and Principled Leadership and all the rest. You can even see Los 7 Hábitos de la Gente Altamente Efectiva, and I can read it, doggone it, just so you know. And I have been a huge proponent of Stephen Covey because he had such a big impact on me. And so when Melissa Gallagher turned me on to what was going on through Tracy over at Kimball Hill, and they said, we have a program that is based on Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits. It's called The Leader in Me. And is there anything you might be able to do to help us out? Absolutely. Are there any other fans, maybe not quite as big, but other people who can say, yeah, 7 Habits. I'm pretty much a 7 Habits person. Anybody else around the room? See, there are hands out there. That's one of the things I said to Tracy, was one of the things you might want to do to try to find people is find people who have been impacted by the work of the 7 Habits. Because the Leader in Me program is going on at schools across the nation. And yeah, it is something that's going to cost them some money. And it is something that they're going to need some volunteers for. And what better group of people to sneak in a commercial on during my State of the City speech than the Chamber of Commerce. So if anything at all about this interests you, if maybe you need an avenue for your corporate giving or your personal giving that's a little fresh, at least for you, something different, If it's something you might be willing to help out with as they look around for business volunteers in the community who might be coming in or willing to come in and talk to kids, Tracy's right here at the table. Melissa's right here at the table. There'll be time for all the networking afterwards. Please reach out to them, because the work that they're going to do at Kimball Hill School and Central Road School is going to benefit all of us decades down the road. So, as we get into 2016, that's the big one, with the little logo for the G and so forth and so on. Like I mentioned, anybody driving down Gulf Road, anybody driving 53 every day gets to see the daily progress going on with Gallagher. And so that's my favorite corner of the building right there. When you can see the new side by side with the old and the demo. It is one of the most impressive projects I've ever seen. And more importantly, it's a project with heart. Not necessarily with dollar amounts, not necessarily with business, but with a company that was homegrown in Rolling Meadows and said, we want to come home from our place in Itasca that has the great big Gallagher building that has served them very well. But as they started to look on, that was one of the big driving forces for Gallagher, was people all the way from the top down who remembered being in this building and said, we want to go home to Rolling Meadows, and we're thrilled to have them back home with us. Next up, we have Continental Towers. You've probably noticed a whole bunch of equipment there every morning, especially if you go to Starbucks, especially if you go to the Mug or any of those places. But it's on the back side of the building where they're doing the biggest work. And this parking deck that they've been planning to put in for a while and got their permission for a while is nearing completion right now. And if you drive down 90, this doesn't surprise you, because that's the view you get from 90 that most of us don't get to see tootling around Rolling Meadows on a regular basis. And so this is the entryway that's going to be as you drive right in. They're going to be able to handle such a volume of cars there, and that's important as the Verizon project comes through and as a number of their tenants kind of ramp up their numbers and renovate their spaces. And so just one little touch that they're doing that you might notice down here, they've just gotten started on the first of their entryways. And a little bit closer up, they're going to have these really nice, airy, open, transparent, to steal a word from earlier in my presentation, they're going to have these really nice welcoming spaces at the base of every tower as well. And that's ongoing at the moment, that you can kind of watch happen if you know where to look. Next up this year, has anybody been to one of the other Bulldog Ale houses? Notice how young the people who are raising their hands are. Exactly. I'm probably going to get beaten up by Mike later for that comment, but that's all right. Bulldog is one of these places that has 32 polls on tap and all that other kind of stuff. The 5th Ward Alderman Rob Banger and his family came along with me and my family to do some field research, I guess you'd call it, in Addison, and we were blown away by this place. And so Bulldog Ale House, their corporate logo looks like that. And so if we just kind of play with it a little bit, that's sitting there on the old Chili's. And a lot of people are happy to see some more movement going on in that place. And especially as summer comes around, when these folks are done, what you see under construction here is 2 great big patios that are going to be sticking out from the front with a walkway running right down between to the old front door. We're really excited about the Bulldog Ale House project in particular because we hear so much from our residents and, quite frankly, from our corporate residents saying we want more restaurants, places that we can go for lunch and so forth and so on. Probably shouldn't mention the business people who said, can you help us out with our problem? And I said, what's your problem? And they said, we get off at 3 and Big B's doesn't open until 4. But Bulldog Ale House will help those people out, or anybody else with that kind of a problem, because they'll be open for lunch and dinner and into the wee hours. And so we're just looking forward to, in the summertime, when it's nice and warm and it's dark outside and it's late and people have a place to go where there's going to be one of those fire pits going and a nice patio to sit on. We're very excited about Bulldog Ale House coming. Next up, comments is something that I've mentioned to you for now the third State of the City address. And unfortunately, Craig Carlson, the fellow who is the driving force behind it, they had a bit of a problem with their contractor that resulted in those kinds of things that can result in with the courts and the lawyers and the stuff. But Craig has been able to work all that stuff out. And so a couple of years ago, I showed you this view of Ray's Auto as the demo was just getting underway. Last year, I showed you this artist concept of what Comets is going to look like, and that's a picture taken just yesterday morning on their progress. Because a lot of people were asking, hey, Comets hasn't made any progress. Did it die? Is it still coming? And we said they're just working out a legal thing, and as soon as they do, they'll get back in force. And doggone it, they have. And they're moving, and Craig is now hoping to be open by the 4th of July and be able to get all those 4th of July people who are there for the parade into his Comets place. So moving on, Lexington Crossing is right down the block. It's on Kirchhoff Road on the south side, right next to BMO Harris and where the old bowling alley used to be. And so last year, I showed you this sign that was out there and gave you guys kind of a bit of a zoom in on that sign and said, so you can kind of get a sense of what these plans are going to look like. Well, if we take that little bit of the sign and blow it up to see the way they drew it, well, that's, oh, why is that down there? Oh, I messed up. No, I'm not really like getting ready for a punchline or anything. I literally messed up. That's supposed to be right in the center. Doggone it. Well, everybody makes one mistake in a PowerPoint. I guess that'll be mine. So, I guess what I'm saying to you is there are live models there right now. There are 2 more buildings being built as we speak, and a number of us on the city council and others got to go into an open house that they had. And you have never seen so much natural sunlight coming into townhouses as they get in these places. And so I guess it should have been front and center. I apologize about that. But you still could see there's a live building there now. And people are going in and they're selling and they're moving. And that kind of activity is going to bring a lot more customers into our old downtown area. So if you now want to see me try to do my weatherman impression, this here is an overlay of basically what we used to call the Golden Triangle. That was our nickname for right here. And then Algonquin Road, of course, right here. This is 90 and Golf and such. There are 3 construction-y projects you probably want to be aware of because, well, at some point they're probably going to impinge on all of us a little bit. Number 1, over here, this little sort of like L-shaped road is called Squibb Drive today. And it still will be called Squibb Drive, but as you can tell, without it, well, you can't get from here to over where the atrium is with Capital One and all the rest. And so as part of the Gallagher project, one of the things that they were very cooperative in helping us get off the ground was a project that we've had in mind for a very long time, and actually making a connector that will make all of the commerce that goes on in this area have a full flow from east to west. It's not our only connector that we have planned, but it's the first one that we're able to get off the ground. And so we're pretty happy to see that happen. Next of all, way down here on Golf, see, weatherman, like so. There's going to be a sidewalk that's going to be put all along the north side. And yeah, there are sidewalks in some sections, but they're not really connected to each other. Some of them are in more disrepair than others. And this is 90 right here. There's no way for somebody to get across the highway if they want to make their way down this way. There's the bike trail down here on the other side, but of course that's been closed because of the 90 construction and so forth and so on. So there will now be a way for pedestrians to make their way all along this entire stretch of Golf Road. So for people who are having employees come by ways that aren't their own car, things like buses, things like bikes, and all the rest, that project is going to be going on this summer. And finally, up here, that's colored blue on purpose because it's kind of a water-related project. In that upper corner, right about here, when it rains pretty hard, you'll know it because there are some pretty serious drainage issues there at the off-ramp there on Algonquin. And so we're probably going to be inconvenienced a little bit this summer, somewhere around the time frame of June and July, I believe, but don't hold me to that because it's not even fully scheduled yet. But they're going to be doing work there to kind of alleviate some of the drainage issues. And so, yeah, we're probably all going to have to be looking out for that, and it might slow things down for a little bit. But then once the drainage issues are resolved, we're really thinking that traffic will flow through a lot more freely even during those wettest times. And so as long as we're talking about things that are going to inconvenience us. Another thing I've talked about all the way along is, so are they done with Gulf Road yet? Can we please have no more construction for just a little while on Gulf Road? And the answer this year is no. We're still going to be seeing the lane closures from time to time. We're still going to be seeing the overnight closures from time to time, and so forth and so on. But they really are making good progress. And for people who are just trying to make it home every night at the end of a business day, to say they're making good progress when good progress is measured in months, we know that that's an inconvenience. But everybody who drives 90 and everybody who drives Gulf Road, once this project is done, we think will be thrilled with the results. And so we're asking everybody to be patient for yet another year. And so as we move on, one of our smaller things is a bike path connection that I think is actually interesting enough. Because to orient yourself a little bit here, this is the old downtown on Kirchhoff Road. The old Dominic's site is right here. The Comets that I was talking about is right here. The Lexington is here. That's Kimball Hill School right there. And I'm too short. Right there. Yeah, that's basically my house. So, on this map, as you've oriented yourself as to where it is, there's this bike path that comes all the way down from the Arlington Park area, connects all the way up with the Palatine bike path if you take some streets to get there and such, and comes right down to where our bell tower and our Veterans Monument is right here. And it kind of just stops there. And there's an underpass under the bridge, and you come up on the underpass, and then you kind of look around and go, now where do I go? Now, if people are coming or going from the library, which is basically right here, at the end of their parking lot, the trail picks up again and goes, if you take a few streets, all the way down to Bussey Woods and everything. And it gets people confused all the time because, okay, this is a library. Now where do I go? Oh, okay, this is a street. Now where do I go? But Salt Creek runs right here. And there's enough green space, barely, to be able to put in something we've been planning for a while. And this bike path connection that's going to run right by Fratello's and run right along the creek side and down and in is now going to be probably the biggest connector on the bike path that we've been waiting for. And it's finally going to come around this summer. And so as we start to finish this thing up, this is a questionable, just so you know. Because, of course, I did just mention the old Dominic's right here. And that is the number one question that everybody in the city of Rolling Meadows has. What's going on with the old Dominic's? And the answer is nothing. But right now, the answer is a question. South Bay is the name of a group of people who have signed a letter of intent to buy the property from Clark Street Development. And what they want to do is lay out what they call senior living. And so these would basically be senior apartments in a structure. And then over here on the first floor would be a memory care facility And then above it, things that are more intensive than independent senior living, but not as intensive as memory care. And so the council has been approached with this, and the council is talking about it. And the people of Rolling Meadows are talking about it. And so as they bring in this picture, it really looks pretty neat as to what it might look like. But this is one of those issues where both sides have good points to make. And it's kind of heartbreaking that, well, I can see that side and I can see that side too. Because, well, there's no commercial, there's no retail, as you'll see in this plan. And so on the one hand, we have some members of the council and we have some residents who are saying, but that property should stay retail. On the other hand, there are members of the council and there are some residents who say, but this is something that the whole country is going to be needing over the next 30 years. And doggone it, both sides have a point. And I don't think I know, I don't think Mike knows, I don't think anybody knows exactly which way this is going to go. But at least we should be telling people this is the proposal that's on the table. And in March and then again in May, we'll be talking about whether this may be coming to the Dominics or whether the Dominics will be preserved for commercial activity. We're going to have to find out, and it's not going to be the easiest decision we make. And so finally, last little thing to throw at you, Central Road isn't like Gulf. It's not like Algonquin. It doesn't really affect as many people. But I guarantee you, if you want to orient yourself here to this section, we'll blow that up a little bit for you like so. And to orient yourself, I think in terms of schools. So this is Rolling Meadows High School right here. Central's not anywhere near as big a thoroughfare for our business areas, but we know lots of people use it on a daily basis. And so there's going to be a great big water main project that's going to be going on there. Because of the school down the street, we're trying to keep it bottled up into the summertime time frame, but it's going to be a mess there probably over the summer. And so anybody who might be impacted by that, as you try to maybe make your way to the subway to get lunch or something along those lines, that's going to be happening this summer too, that will create a few inconveniences that people should be aware of. So that's the wrap up that I have for you today about 2015 and 2016 in today's State of the City address. I don't have any idea what time it is because I didn't bring my phone up here, but I think I'm supposed to take a few questions if you have them. Anybody with questions? Yes, sir. The question was, the senior living proposal from South Bay, is it a nonprofit or a for-profit? And the answer is, it is a for-profit. They came in and they said, there are different levels. We're this level right here, and it's a pay-as-you-go level that is for-profit. Does that answer the question you were asking? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Will the construction project you were just talking about that's going to take place on Central be at Barker in Central, or is it going to be further east?
Well, and Fred Vogt can help me answer. The question was, this water main project, how far is it going to go? The way it's listed is all the way from Wilkie and then to J Lane. So no, it will not hit Barker. It won't hit the west side of the school. Right. Now, okay, good. That's what I needed, is the coach has to tell me, yes, Mayor, that is the right answer. So, good. So it'll stop at J and not run that far. Does that answer?
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else? Linda?
Mayor, we're getting a lot of calls from businesses and residents asking about where the two new fire stations may be put, and I don't know if you have it in a particular area, that like one on Algonquin Road, one somewhere else, but if you could share any information on those firehouses, the construction?
Certainly. The question is about the fire station plan, and the fire station plan has probably been Chief Scott Franzgroth's entire biggest headache the entire time he's been chief, because it has gone back and forth and back and forth. Are we going to move both stations, or are we going to build a third, smaller station down on Algonquin Road? And the general idea is to have service more oriented to the south end of town, which quite frankly involves a lot of the businesses that we were talking about. So the latest thing that was passed by the city council was a design group to come in and talk about building 2 new stations. There is one downtown right now at Kirchhoff and Meadow, and the idea is that one would kind of be moved somewhere down around Central Road. Where? We don't know, because property has to be acquired and so forth and so on. But in the plan, that fire station would be moved down to Central Road. Fire Station 16 is over on Plum Grove Road, just south of Kirchhoff. And under this plan, that would also be moved to right by 53 on Kirchhoff Road, so that it still has quick access to the areas that it serves now, but can kind of cover over more. And I apologize, if I would have known we'd be talking about it, I'd have a map where I could point this stuff out for you. But in general, picture it this way. In the city of Rolling Meadows, the firehouses are laid out on kind of an east-west pattern, basically from one end of Kirchhoff to the other. But the traffic flow of Rolling Meadows is really more a north-south traffic flow. So instead of a firehouse at Kirchhoff and Plum Grove Road, it would be 53 and Central Road to reorient them to a north-south. And a design firm has been hired to start saying, if we're going to move both fire stations, what would the 2 new fire stations look like? That's where it stands right now. And that was the latest decision. We have gone back and forth, where at one point we were going to have both stations move, but then we were going to say, no, they're going to stay, and a third one down south will just make a triangle out of the fire stations. And quite frankly, the council has gone back and forth twice now, but that's the latest and greatest plan. We'll see where it goes from there. Is that a complete answer to your question? Anybody else with questions? Yes, ma'am. The question is, how many people would be served by the proposed South Bay project? And with the council being divided, what's the process by which it'll happen? Is it basically just a majority vote? That last one's the easiest answer. Yes, it's basically just a majority vote. We have a joke on the city council. All you have to do is be able to count to 4. And if you can count to 4, you can get anything done, and so forth and so on. The number of people that it would serve. Yeah. Okay, my memory said somewhere around 500. Barry is saying probably 400, so it's probably in that range. It would be a little more intensive here because, as you can see, this is just the first story plan, and we're talking maybe as high as 4 stories in the one section and maybe as high as 3 in the other. So maybe in the range of 400 to 500 is kind of what we're trying to remember. And as far as the process goes, South Bay came to the Committee of the Whole meeting in January to introduce themselves and their project and say, we're going to come make our pitch. We want you to start thinking about us now, and we want, if you have any feedback that you want to offer, tell us now while we can still work it in. They will be back a week from tomorrow night at our Committee of the Whole meeting. Oh, April. Sorry. Thank you. See, this is why I need my coaches to make sure I'm giving the right answers. It's in April now. It was bumped back a month. And so that'll be the next time that they come back with more concrete drawings. These things that I'm showing you are actually what they submitted to the Plan Commission. They're actually something that's being built now in Lincolnwood. And Lincolnwood is a 13-acre site. Our site is 11. So they're making adjustments to this plan to make 13 acres fit 11. And so once the April Committee of the Whole meeting happens, even that's not necessarily the final decision. They still have to come forward like every building project. And this project, the part that the city is involved in, is that this is not zoned right now for their project. It's zoned commercial. This would be residential. So the city would have to rezone to residential like it did originally when that thing was there, and like it did in 2006 for a project that fell through. So all those pieces are going to be kind of a mishmash that it'll probably take us a good 3 to 4 months to settle out. Is that a complete answer to your question? Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. How many jobs would it create? I don't know. That's a great question. Any recollection? I'm hearing 85. 85, somewhere right around that range in terms of people providing care, people providing maintenance, and all the rest. The independent living section would obviously have less, but over here would get more. And so the answer I'm hearing is around 85. Is that an answer to your question? Anybody else? I thought I saw a hand flash for a second, but maybe not. Well, then I'll take that as my cue to just wrap this up and say I really do appreciate the attention you give every year for this. We hope we're giving you information that at least at some point you'll find useful to you. Maybe not just over this summer as you choose which routes to take to try to get to work, but in terms of just knowing the people and knowing the faces who work for our city, so that if ever any kind of an issue comes up, you don't hesitate to send an email. Pick up the phone, contact the people who work at the city with any concerns you might have, and feel free to work in. I saw you at a Chamber of Commerce lunch or something along those lines. People are very willing to help out our corporate residents, and we hope that you'll be able to walk out of here today with at least that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. And just a couple of things that I'd like to add with that. Mayor is aware of this. We have a company, not a large one. If it comes into Rolling Meadows, would only bring in about 8 employees, but what makes it very enticing is that it has it's got a high name recognition to it. So I have found out this week that we are the top contender for them to move, and if they can do a deal within Rolling Meadows of the space that they want to lease, they are going to come to Rolling Meadows. So I'm hoping we can make that announcement maybe by the end of the week or something, that we'll find out for sure that they are going to be moving to Rolling Meadows. So we're hopeful there. So we don't work on just the large businesses. We do work on the smaller ones. And with this one that has 8 employees, what it will bring to Rolling Meadows is that they would be bringing in a minimum of 40 technicians every week, all year round, that would stay from Sunday to Friday, which means they need room nights, which means they also need places to eat and things to do and places to shop at. So we look at the overall picture. So those 8 employees are bringing way more than just themselves should they relocate to Rolling Meadows. There is one other business I would like to recognize today. It is not on our top 12 business list, but is definitely a major business in Rolling Meadows, and it is growing in Rolling Meadows, and it is in the area where so many of the other larger businesses, such as Arthur J. Gallagher is, RTC, a number of other ones, Capital One, and that is We Chai America. And we have the president here from We Chai America. HK, would you please stand to be recognized? The reason why I bring up this particular business is a couple reasons. One, they took over an empty building that was the former Helene Curtis Unilever building. 2, they have made major upgrades and renovations to the property inside especially. We're looking forward to having a grand opening or something over there so they can showcase what they do. This is their headquarters, and it's the first one in the United States for We Chai America. It is also their research and development that is going on there as well, and they are growing leaps and bounds. So we're so glad not only that they relocated to Rolling Meadows, but they decided to stay and expand, because at one point they were looking at leaving and going to Canada, and we're very fortunate that they decided to stay here instead. So thank you so much, and we look forward to continue working with you and seeing you grow and helping you grow. So before you leave, of course, I still see, and I can't believe I'm seeing them, but I see bundt cakes sitting. So please make sure you take one of those bundt cakes with you. If you're not going to eat it now, take it with you to go, because they are just to die for, literally. So please enjoy. And hopefully some of you will be able to stay and do some quick networking with some of the people that are still here. So again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be here today, and we look forward to seeing you at one of our next upcoming events. Thank you.